Greetings. My name is Ruban Roberts. I am the CEO and founder of RER Consulting Enterprise and Amplify Community Resources, a nonprofit organization. This is a series, Wellness Wednesdays, that we are starting to just inform the community. Today we have some very special guests with us, and today's topic is on bullying. And we have some subject matter experts to really touch on this for those of you who have kids or grandkids who are going to school and wanting to know, how do you address this issue, or how do you get resources that will help you address these issues. Today we have Chief Manny Morales from the city of Miami. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Ruben. It's great to be here with all the other distinguished guests.
Thank you for joining us today. And then we also have Chief Constance Stanley. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you, Ruben? Good morning, everyone.
I am well. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we also have State Representative Felicia Robinson. Good morning, State Rep. I guess she'll be coming back on momentarily. So what what we want to do is really get a feel for what's going on in your two particular districts and how you handle it. So Chief Morales, I'll start with you. I know you work in a very diverse community, so many different cultural backgrounds and that sort of thing. And I'm sure that you get calls, the start of the school year, it just happened. And I'm sure you're getting calls from, different schools or parents about things that are going on with their kids. Talk to us about what you do in your district to address bullying in schools and just those types of incidents.
So, Ruben, good morning once again to everyone out there watching and listen. It's a topic that concerns everyone. I'm a parent. I got 4 boys, and it seems like nowadays it is tougher to be a kid than it was when we were growing up back in the day. So the topic of cyberbullying is something that is at the forefront of the discussion when I speak with not only my executive staff, but all the members of the city of Miami, right? Because sometimes it's easy to think that you don't have anything to worry about because the cyberbullying is coming from a remote place or it's coming from someone you might not know. But the reality of it is that most of the kids that are getting cyberbullied is by someone they know. It's somebody in their school. It's somebody that they play in the park with, a friend that has gotten into some argument, discussion, or disagreement with. And listen, we're having incredible success right now doing traditional policing methods and using new tested methods and reducing gun violence. The number one source of incidents leading up to gun violence nowadays is some sort of cyberbullying, social media beef that comes across the platforms with one folks kind of picking on another and the folks kind of challenging and disrespecting one another. That's where we notice that it's sparking this violence that we're seeing on the streets. And even though we've seen great reductions, we got to be cognizant, right, that we need to address it right away. So we're very aggressive when we're talking about taking the report, when we're following up, working closely with our federal, state, and local partners. The Secret Service has a fantastic program that allows us to connect through phones and really get into the weeds of where these folks are sending the messages. So to parents out there, if your child is having some issues like that, do not hesitate. Call the police or make a report because it's a violation of the law to be cyberbullied.
Thank you so very much, Chief Morales. I really appreciate that. And now we'll go on to Chief Stanley from the city of Lauderhill. The local stats say about 20% of kids between the age of 12 and 18 experience bullying nationwide. And want to know, what are some of the strategies and tactics that you use in your department to address those issues?
All right. Thank you, Ruben. So that is correct. We do have an issue. As Chief Morales said, it really is going to take a concerted effort for everyone to be involved because it impacts all of us in some way or form. Some of the programs that we do have is one of the schools, one of our elementary schools or middle schools, I'm sorry. They do have a program, a mentorship program. So not only myself, but we have some of our civilian staff and also sworn personnel that participate in this program. Because what you may find, children tend not to talk to parents. They're more comfortable talking to someone else outside of their home to discuss things they may be going through. So the purpose of the program was to get the kids to be comfortable talking to police about some of the things they're going through. But we have a program called our Rock Academy. It's Rescue Our Kids. So some of the kids that are on the verge of, doing things that they shouldn't be doing out there, close to maybe committing crimes. We try to get them in that program just so we can steer them away from, getting involved in criminal activity that they shouldn't be involved in. We also have a police explorer program, again, getting the kids at, those ages to get them involved, have them participate in talking to other kids of their peers in the community to help with things of that nature. I remember going to one of the middle schools and I was in the process of meeting with my mentor and I saw a kid, observed him in the office. And I asked him what happened, what was, going on. So he had just gotten into a fight with someone that was bullying him. And I asked him, I said, well, did you talk to anybody? Did you talk to your parents? Did you talk to a teacher? He did not. So we're finding that a lot of kids, again, just they're afraid. They don't want to be considered a snitch. So they're not, speaking up about it. But again, if we, have preventive measures, to stop it, at the forefront, then we'll prevent these things from happening. We also, several months ago, did an anti-bullying campaign. It was put through by our Commissioner Dunn. It was a walk, and we tried to get everyone to come out, to just participate in that and see what role, they can play in assisting with this anti-bullying. But, it is serious. It is, as Chief Morales said, it is a crime. So if we can just encourage parents or anyone, who witness or know of someone who's being bullied, there is an out and they can talk. And one of the things I find too is, just teaching kids kindness. We have to really start, at home, teaching them to be kind. Those who are doing the bullying, they really don't understand the impact that they're imposing on those that they bully. So, again, we have to just continue to push forward. We have a lot of community programs that involve the youth. So we'll continue that trend, just trying to get them to come in and just, talk. So that's what's most important, trying to get the kids to communicate with someone if they are experiencing that.
Thank you for sharing that. I love to hear that robust approach that you guys have to address, bullying and that sort of thing. And one of the things I love the listening audience to know is that people who bully, research has shown that a high percentage of them were bullied. It's that whole concept of violence begetting violence. And so this is a learned behavior and something that, again, like you said, just really trying to make sure that we can promote kindness, grace and that sort of thing. So you had an opportunity to give an extensive background on the services that you guys provide to the youth. And Chief Morales, I'd like to extend that same opportunity to you. You want to talk about some of the programming and some of the things that you guys are doing in the city of Miami to address the youth as well.
So very synonymous to what Chief Stanley is doing in Lauderhill is what we're doing in the city of Miami. You got to take a very proactive approach. We start very young. We have our community relations section, which goes out to the streets, and we have the Do the Right Thing program that encourages schools to reward the behavior that we really want to mirror. Kids that are doing the right thing in school. And along with that program, we have Do the Right Thing officers. And these officers go to school, they sit down with kids during lunch, we take them Happy Meals, or, we do milk and cookie days with them, and we start that dialogue, right? So we break down those barriers. So as Steve Stanley said, when those kids are apprehensive and they don't want to reach out to their parents, maybe they feel comfortable enough to reach out to kids. So that's very important, to be able to kind of let the kids know that we're not the big bad wolf that some folks would make us to be. and that we're approachable, that we're accessible, and we're ready to help. And to be involved in older children, a program that we share with you, the Teen Talk program, where we go out there and we put cops and the youth in our community together in a very close, no holds barred conversation, where we do scenarios and we talk about things that they've experienced, problems that they're going through, and they get to see the human side of the badge, right? That's what I love about those types of programs, that brings us face to face with those folks in the community, right? Because let me tell you, the vast majority of the folks in the community, they love the police. They just want good, honest, and constitutional policing. So as we strive to get those things, we got to remember that if you see some act of uncivility, right, and like Chief Stanley says, it seems like tempers are flying around the street and people are disrespecting one another, but keep a cool head. Remember that there's help out there, there's outlets, there's support systems that you can reach out, and we are letting our community know that we're one of those support systems. So reach out to your local police department. Miami Police Department starts ready to help our community and make sure we keep our children safe, especially from cyberbullying.
Thank you so very much. And now I'd like to bring on Representative Felicia Robinson. And, I really want to just hear from you in terms of what are some of the things from a legislative perspective that you've been involved with to address bullying?
So I am going to get to that. However, I cannot just talk about the legislative piece, being that I am an educator. And
Okay.
so, first of all, I would definitely love to thank both of our chiefs for being on and all that they do, because the programs that they spoke of, I'm very, very familiar with. And being in the school system, actually an educator for 29 years, bullying has been a hot topic or an issue that we address on a continuous basis. And what I would like to say is that bullying, it has a two-part component. It has the victim, the person that's being bullied, but as you just stated, it also has that child that is actually doing the bullying. So when we're addressing it, or we really want to make prevention, we have to address it in both paths. So, of course, in the school system, there are consequences when we encounter bullying issues. But then it's also very important for us to address the person, that the aggressor, to try to ensure that they are getting the needs that they have. Because like you said, most times they have been a victim at some point themselves, and they're actually acting out. And so when I think about bullying overall, I always look at it on both sides. And something that's very important, although there is legislation, and I'm going to get to that, something that we really have to look at in preventing it is promoting more of a family environment that supports a healthy development. That's really important for our children, and that would help with the bullying, providing quality educational at an early level, because bullying usually starts with a simple teasing type thing or intimidation. It usually doesn't just start off at that major aggressive point. So we have to start teaching our kids and having communication and bringing awareness about it. That's why it's so important in our schools, which our chiefs talked about, is that we have that anti-bullying program. We have the do the right thing so that we can create a certain culture at an early age. We have also ensure that we strengthen our youth skills, building character and values. So that's important. Connecting our youth to caring adults and activities. And this has to be something that's continuous. We can't just hit it one time and let it go. These are characteristics and behaviors that have to happen on a continuous basis. It needs to happen in the home, it needs to happen in the school, and it needs to happen in their communities. So creating protective community environments, and then also having intravenous lessons that kind of talks about what bullying looks like, because sometimes a kid is getting bullied and they don't even really recognize it as bullying. So having that open communication on what it looks like, and if something like this happens to you, what are you going to do about it? That way you can prevent it early and it doesn't go on and on and on. And it was very important that one of the things that our chief said is having young people to actually have these conversations, because a lot of times you don't get to hear it. They don't hear it when an adult is talking about it. So just wanted to bring that part in. Now, when we talk about the state and we talk about legislation, there's been several different pieces of legislation that the state has done. First, I'll say Florida Statute 1006 is where we actually, it's called the bullying and harassment is prohibited. So in that particular piece of legislation, it actually defines what bullying is, and that's regular bullying, that's cyberbullying, and it makes it known that it is not tolerated and that there will be consequences. We also have been very creative in how we try to address bullying. And so a lot of people might not know, but that's how the Hope Scholarship came about. And that's a Florida Statute 1002. And that Hope Scholarship is when a child is bullied in a school and they feel threatened, so that we're not keeping them in that same environment. Their parents are allowed to get a scholarship that can move them into a school or into an environment where they feel safe. And so that's also important. We can look at our legislation that talks about our school environment safety incident reporting. So anytime when you're in any situation, especially in our schools, if there is any type of complaint or any kind of notification, whether it's from the person themselves or anyone that says that someone has been harassed or they feel bullied, then we must report it and it must be investigated. We can't just say, oh, that's just nothing. If it has anything that looks like you're being harassed or you're bullied, all staff members know that it has to be reported into the Sears system. We have Florida Statute 1006, which is hazing prohibited at schools at all grade levels, especially in our 6 through 12. And so there is, again, legislation that we have put in place. I think as we continue to try to prevent this, one of the things that we've been doing is looking more into the mental health component, because we understand, as I said, that both people that participate or all people that participate in bullying needs help. And how do you get that help? You need you need counseling, you need something that's continuous, you need to be able to communicate with others that understand and be able to get out what's actually happening for the bullier. And then the person that it has been bullied needs to be able to talk to someone to have coping mechanisms and strategies to be able to continue and be successful.
Well, thank you so much for that, and I really appreciate that you highlight that you're an educator first and have been an educator for quite some time, and so you have a very unique perspective about the whole bullying situation. And so one of the things we know is that in terms of the data that we've researched and found is that a lot of students who are being bullied from 12 to 18 years old feel that the person who's bullying them has more power than they do, has more influence than they do, that they're stronger than they are. And so these are things that are going on all of the time with these kids, and they have to navigate these waters. So having the programming that really address where kids can have a voice and speak to authority figures, learn other strategies of how to deal with bullying, making sure that they don't take matters into their own hands, but make sure that they share information with any threats or that sort of thing with the proper authority figures. I think that that's great. I want to ask you one last thing. Do you see any way from a legislative perspective that you can support local police departments in their efforts to address the bullying and these types of violence and that's going on in their districts?
Well, I definitely would agree. I think that and I'm not sure if it's coming from a legislative session, or what I guess I'm saying is I think we give dollars that help support some of the programs that are already being implemented. But
Okay.
when we think outside of the box, like I said, most definitely, I know that we are looking at how we can put more mental health counselors in schools, how we could do more programming in that manner. So I'm not sure if it would be legislative or it would just be more so on the appropriation side, but I'm definitely know that myself and my colleagues would be definitely interested in working along with our law enforcement officers and our schools to get that done, because we know that this is something that can be prevented. When I think about some of the things that I said, preventing it, doing things that will create more family safe environments is very important. One of the things that one of the committees that I sit on in the legislature is children and families. And so we have been looking at, different programs and different things that we can do to just making sure that our children are in um, safe homes and they feel safe, because we know that that ultimately plays a part on their growth and how they act out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that this was a great topic today. I want to give you guys a few minutes to say some closing remarks, speak to these parents, speak to the students. One of the things I am concerned about, I know that parents are very protective of their kids, and sometimes they want to take matters into their own hands, right? Which will lead to, sometimes violent incidents from an adult to a child, or can lead to other violent incidents between two adults based on whatever mood they're in. And I want you guys to talk about what are some do's and don'ts when it comes down to you finding out that your child is being bullied. If you're not satisfied with what the school is doing, what recourse do they have? So we'll start off with you, Manny, then with you, Chief Stanley, and then you, Representative Felicia Robinson.
So, Ruben, I think a great point to start is that violence is never the answer, right? And I know we love, as parents, we love our children dearly. We feel pain when they go through pain, right? And we want to do everything we can. As parents, we're innately built to have the savior complex that we think we're going to be able to protect our children at all times. But what I would recommend is that, listen, there are set protocols in just about every school district in our state, right? And I know Miami-Dade has a very robust anti-bullying policy. So what I would urge them is to make sure that if they find out that there's an incident going on, talking to the parents first, right? They find out that an incident is going on, that the child is being bullied, that they contact the school, that they make sure that they document it, that they get an incident report from the local jurisdiction that handles the police matters in that case, and that they stay on it, right? And that they do everything they can to keep the child safe in school, right? To the kids, I recommend, listen, it's always the best policy is to let that individual who's bullying you know that the actions that they're taking are unacceptable and that they're hurtful to you, right? And never seek violence, never retaliate, right? And if that doesn't work, if communication doesn't work, then you kind of escalate that into letting your parents know, letting the school staff know, and letting the protocols that are in place going in there. Because we see way too much violence as it is nowadays. And like many of our speakers today mentioned, the individuals that are doing the bullied, research shows already that they've been bullying themselves. So they need some type of intervention, some type of help themselves. So allow the process to help. And like our representative said, there is a scholarship to move your child in the last case scenario to get them away from that activity. But the school should be able to allow them to protect the child while in school premises. So give the process an opportunity first before you fly off the handle and you do something that might cost someone their life or their freedom. You can't help your child if you're sitting behind bars because you did something that you might regret later on. So stay civil.
Absolutely.
Yeah, stay civil first.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Chief Morales. All right, Chief Stanley, we'd love to hear you weigh in on this as well.
Yeah, I echo some of the same sentiments from Chief Morales. We find that a lot of parents, instead of them contacting, the schools, they have conversations with their kids, and then they want to go after the person who's bullying their child without, any form of communication. We've had to deal with that on several occasions, responding to schools and addressing that. So I think it's important for the parents to know that there is an out. You do have to communicate with the school. You find out the details, from your child, because sometimes you may get half of the story. And sit down, communicate, with counselors, the school principal, whatever it takes to get that done. And I think that all of us need to be, very vigilant. We need to be aware, if there's any change in pattern involving our child, make note of that. If they're quiet, acting out, there has to be something wrong. So, as teachers, as parents, and anyone for that matter, just be aware if you notice a change in the child, because again, a lot of times, as we mentioned before, they don't like to communicate what they're going through. But if you notice a change in that behavior, there is something wrong. We do offer a program. One of the things we do is community policing, and we allow citizens to attend a 10-week program to Citizens Academy. But we started offering that for our kids because, again, we're educating the parents on certain things, how to respond, but, we're leaving the kids out. So we started this about 3 years ago. And again, it includes, we have discussions on anti-bullying and how they should report. But again, I just want to, say to all, we all have a dual responsibility to make sure that we're aware of our kids and to protect them. But communication is key. We have to have these conversations and, just make sure everyone is on board.
Thank you so much for that. And I agree with the sentiments that both of you made. Now, Representative Robinson, we're going to ask you to use your educator hat on this one. And I know you've seen it all. We worked together when you were assistant principal at Carroll City Senior High. And I know you've seen things going on all levels at elementary, middle, and senior high school with students. And just love for you to give your feedback on this topic to parents and youth about what they should do from a school administrator's perspective.
Well, most definitely. And I must say that great minds think alike, because the word that I was going to use when you first asked the question, Chief Stanley said it, is communication. Communication is the key. And when I talk to parents, that's one of the things that I stress most, is that they have to communicate with their kids continuously. It has to be something that's happening regular. If you're having regular conversations with your child, you're going to notice when something's changed. But if you're constantly having communication with them, then they're going to have certain strategies that they're going to know how to deal with different things when it comes up. So when I talk about communication, I'm saying don't just have oh, hey, how you doing, whatever. That's important, but actually have communications with them about bullying, because you know that this is something that has been happening in our society. Don't wait till it happens. Have conversations about what bullying looks like. Actually come up with a plan that you could develop with your child, that if they encounter something to this mechanism, they know what to do. They know to come and tell you, or they know to go and tell their teacher. They have something that's in their pocket to say that, hey, if somebody they tease me, or they try to intimidate me, or they try to harass me, that they have some type of a plan or an action step that they can actually take. That's a part of communicating regularly with your children. And it helps teach kids what bullying is. So a lot of times the conversation doesn't come up, but it should come up. It should come up in the home because the parents should be talking about it so the kids are aware. But then, of course, we know that it comes up in school. And then also, I love the program that she spoke about, Citizens Academy, and having it for children, because then now those kids have been exposed to this topic across the board, at home, in school, and within their community. And that matters, because I always say, as an educator, when people know better, they do better, whether they want to or not. Having these conversations with all children, it would help the kid that may be feeling a certain way and might want to bully to not do it, because they've been made aware of the consequences. They've been made aware of how it makes others feel. And like we said, because they have been a child that may have been bullied, it gives them an opportunity to express themselves. Well, hey, you're telling me about this, but this is actually done to me. And so I would say the number one thing that I would tell parents is communicate with your kids on a regular basis and have those intentional conversations, have those conversations that are sometimes difficult to have, and then actually give them a plan, give them some action steps and something that they can actually do when they may be encountered. This all goes back to what I said earlier in promoting family environments that are safe and healthy, that helps our kids to develop to their full and the best potential that they have. I know at the school we have lots of programs, we're doing it, but we do need our parents and our community help, because I always say, and this was what I've been saying for some time, we have to build our own community. And how do we do that? We do it one neighbor at a time.
All right. Thank you so very much. I'd like to thank all of my distinguished guests for, really weighing in on a very serious topic. I know we're at the start of the school year, and these things, some of your parents may be experiencing right now, and some may be experiencing later on, some of the students as well. I want to share with you just a recap on some of the things that we just heard. One of the things that we know is that communication is key. We need to make sure that we get a chance to communicate with our kids and really ask those questions or just notice their behavioral differences. We understand that some of the kids may be reluctant to share some of the experiences that they're having in school. But if they do share, what we heard from both the chiefs is that, there is a process, there are protocols to follow, and make sure that you document what's going on. Make sure you contact the school district, make sure you contact your local law enforcement, and let them know. Put it on file, put it on paper. Therefore, if there's anything that happens, you have a record of it. And finally, we want to make sure that everyone knows that there are resources available in the schools. There are resources available within your local municipalities, your police departments, that may be able to help you or assist you with some of the challenges, not just about bullying, but access those resources. Sometimes what happens is that those resources go unused. So we want to encourage you all to make sure that you tap into those resources and make sure that you contact your local legislator. We have one on the panel today. And if there are any issues or concerns that you think that should be addressed, have that conversation. They're having workshops all of the time. Make sure that you come out to the workshops, give your opinion. Let's do what we need to do to make our community safe. All right. Stronger families helps to make safer communities. So I just want to make sure before we sign off that I leave you with this message. Always do the right thing. And as long as we're doing the right thing, we'll be all right. Thank you all for joining us on Wellness Wednesday today in our bullying topic. And we look forward to you joining us on our next show. Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So